Finally looks like doctor's orders. That's right, Dr. Frasier Crane looks set to make a huge comeback. Or will he fall foul like this previous much-loved US sitcom has also recently succumbed to? Hi, good morning, Neil Sean here in the heart of London. Thank you so much for joining me today. Back in Kensington Gardens today. I thought I'd show you a little bit of greenery. Cheer us all up, you know what it's like. One of my favourite shows, which is still being repeated, in fact it's one of the most repeated sitcoms around the world, is none other than Frasier. I'm sure you'll agree it always gives you a bit of a cheer up, a bit of a laugh. I loved Eddie the dog. Do you remember Eddie the dog? With, of course, Frasier's father and his own grotty chair. I think we're all secretly a little bit like that, aren't we? Would all have our favourite chair in a very posh flat, which of course was part of the joke between Frasier and of course his father and brother Niles. Frasier, of course, was a huge success, picking up 37 Emmy Awards along the way. An incredible run when you think, a huge ratings buster. Now, I don't know if you want to know this, but I thought I'd share it with you. I became friends with Kelsey Grammer on a rather strange situation. I'll speed it up so I don't take too much of your time. But literally, I was in New York one day. I know it sounds very glamorous, doesn't it? But I was working for CBS News at the time. And we were positioned then at 57th Street. And I was told to go there for a meeting with a couple of the big wigs, you know what it's like. Came out of the meeting and thought, nice afternoon, I think I'll take a stroll back at my own pace. I didn't realise I was walking through some really rough areas of New York. But at the time, of course, being on US TV, lots of people were like, hey, how are you? You know, which, when you think about it, is absolutely ludicrous because you've got no idea, have you, what's going on. Eventually, I walked back into Broadway. And I walked into Broadway and literally bumped into Kelsey Grammer at the stage door where he was appearing on Broadway in La Cage aux Folles. Wonderful man, became friends, and then when he came over to London, we did a series of interviews. Really kind, really sweet. Spoke to him recently about this reboot because, as we said, you know, another big return which hasn't really taken off is none other than Sex in the City, starring, of course, Sarah Jessica Parker and all of the rest of them, but not the Liverpudlianly born Kim Cattrall. She decided against it, very wise as well. It hasn't done very well for the girls of Sex in the City, which is now called Just Like That, or And Just Like That. Having spoken, of course, to Dr. Frasier Crane and, of course, Kelsey Grammer, who plays him, he tells me that they won't simply have the same problems, only because they are not necessarily all coming back ensemble. There may be one or two guest appearances and, of course, a brand new direction for Dr. Crane, who, as you know, was a radio psychiatrist. Well, very funny show. He tells me, though, that it won't really succumb to all the wokery that some of the other shows have done because it's not really Frasier Crane's character. I do kind of think this may make it successful. Now, as you know, Kelsey Grammer has gone on to have a very successful career, but as he said, wherever he goes around the world, people always want to talk to him about Frasier, so he owes it to them to make sure they get it right when they return. It's set to return at some point in the spring, early summer of this year. As ever, once the doctor tells me his orders, I'll tell you. Neil Sean in the very heart of Kensington.